You know security is hard, so let's assume we're probably gonna get pwned by noon. But if we all start to get the basics right, we might not fully get pwned until tonight. Hey, how's it going? Check 1, 2, 3. A second here. I did the old thing where I moved from a Teams meeting to a Zoom meeting. You ever do that where, oh, I think that's it. Let me just check my own audio. You move from a Teams meeting to a Zoom meeting and your computer's like, you've never had any sound devices plugged into your system at all. Okay, I hear myself. Okay, it's working. But if you want to re-verify audio is working, please feel free to do so in the chat. But welcome to the 7-minute security live stream here. I'll just make it kind of a short and sweet one about BPATTY. That's what we're going to talk about, and I'm going to give you just a quick tour of. This is something that I yapped about a little bit in last week's podcast, and I shared with you that my plans to just, not that anybody's just hanging with bated breath, but I was going to release it to the internet's last Friday, and then had some domain issues, DNS issues, GitHub issues, user issues, PEBCAC issues, and just in kind of a perfect storm of good events, like an hour ago, I got them all ironed out and I got BPATTY published. So I wanted to talk about it with you and just click through a few things and invite you to check it out, make suggestions to make it better, or ignore it entirely. It's a free country. Do what you want with the information. Okay. Let me see if the old screen share will work. Let's try that. And I think it is working. Okay, good. So just a quick bit of history on BPATTY. The history of it. Well, first of all, the name of it is a poor acronym for Brian's Pentesting and Technical Tips for You. Some wordsmithy people out there are like, hey, there's no F in BPATTY. Well, there's there's an F in you. No, just kidding. This is a family show, so we're not going to make stupid dad jokes. But yeah, you're right. You keen-eyed grammar people realize that I am missing an F. But that's what it stands for. The original intent of this project, I started it around 2017 or 2018 when I was about the same time starting 7MS, the business. And the thought was, you know what? On any given day, I'm looking at lots of pen test videos and training and scripts and all sorts of stuff. I'll funnel it into like a GitHub repo where if people come across it, maybe they find a little tidbit that's helpful for them. And I was just like all raging for it in a positive way for a lot of weeks. And then, like any project, right? Things start to get a little bit stale. And I would keep maintaining an internal notebook of stuff, and then just go, okay, one day I'm going to set aside some time and I'm going to just update the heck out of BPATTY. And I never did that. And so it's just been collecting dust. But shameless self-promotion, let me just real quick pull up one of the best websites in the world called 7minsec.com. One of our recent episodes, back here, 633, the last time we did a live stream would have been the third Thursday of July. And I came upon a project called Docusaurus that ended up meeting a specific customer need of mine. They had a bunch of markdown notes and help sheets that they used internally, and they wanted to kind of get that up in more of a wiki and be able to quickly make edits to it and that kind of stuff. So I sort of demoed a bunch of different solutions, and they ended up really loving Docusaurus. And the more I played with it, the more I was like, this would work perfectly for BPATTY. And I think my favorite thing about using Docusaurus is that I can I don't have it installed here, but I could use something like Notepad++ or on the Mac side, I could use BBEdit and open up the SFTP server where all the Docusaurus markdown files live and just make edits or create new documents on the fly. And then Docusaurus automatically makes the new configuration. So for example, if I'm in, and I'm going to go through this a little bit more, but if I'm in the blue team area and I create a new document called, curbroasting.md, write stuff up, hit save, boom, it appears here. I don't need to like edit any other files on the back end. It reflects the edits and the new pages immediately. So if I did have Notepad++ up right now and I added a new file for this blue team area and hit save, I don't even need to refresh my browser. It just refreshes and the content is there. So so as of just a few minutes ago, this is BPATTY BPATTY Reloaded 1.0. So I just wanted to take you through a little bit and point out a few particular things that have been helpful for me in my pen test career and that are new to this version of BPATTY. And that's it. So we won't go a full hour. Maybe we'll just go, I don't know, 10, 20 more minutes. And if you have any questions, let me know. And this is all, behind the scenes. This is on a GitHub repo. So you can go in and be like, hey, dum-dum, you spelled pen test wrong on this page, or hey, I'd really like to see a page on, curb TGT abuse or something, Anyway, once you get in here, the main categories, I'll just touch on each of them briefly. We've got a change log or change blog. And this is just kind of me documenting, building up to eventually today's release. So new posts will just pop up towards the top. So as I make changes, like more major content changes to this, I'll put this in the blog and then you can, kind of see what's changed between releases. But the main categories I have here, and really this is, maybe you're not going to like this categorization, but this is how my mind works is there's kind of blue team stuff I do. There's lots of just system maintenance and command line things for Linux and Mac and Windows that I do on a regular basis to just operate the machines. There's hardware things I do with things like pen test drop boxes, a whole pen testing category, an area just for scripts, and then one that I don't really love the title for, but software that is like Dockerized or our hypervisors such as Proxmox and ESXi. That stuff's all going to go here. But let me just pop into a few areas and kind of show you where I'm going with each one. In the blue team area, this is like such an area of raging interest for me, but yet I spend my whole life on the red team side of things. But more and more coming out of those assessments is I want to be as much a help as possible as I can to customers who are like, yeah, you totally wrecked us with, curb roasting attack and you got the local admin on one system and then you went to 40 systems from there. How can we, better defend against that? So I'm trying to document those things more and would use this as a, let me send you a link on this specific thing. So for example, I've started to write up a little mini article on curb roasting protections. Some of my clients have found that they have old kind of stale SPNs out there, and they've been afraid to clean them up. So I talk about this really helpful tweet from Waldo of the Spectre Ops group. Goes through a whole thread here on how to prevent curb roasting and or clean up SPNs. So I took the relevant bits of that and made a mini help sheet out of it on the script you can run to find. For example, in my test lab here, I've got this SQL Service account that is really a phantom because the SQL Service has been uninstalled, but the SPN was still there. So then we talk about this Microsoft article that tells us to use the set SPN command to just, surgically remove that from the environment. So that one's good. I've got, you'll see there are some here, like this Laps article, that are tagged with review. This is another thing I really like about Docusaurus is right in the markdown files, I can throw different tags on documents and then see them, right? Just based on tag. But this is kind of an internal note to me that these particular articles, they need more TLC. They need a visit and some punching up. But I have from a webinar we did just I don't know, was that maybe back in, it's probably last year. Let's see, when was that? 2019. Really? No, published December 20. I don't know that that's right. Hold on a second. Here's the updated one. Okay, so there's a thing I got to fix. We did a webinar about new laps, which came out April of last year. I think this is the right one, isn't it? Oh, maybe not. Anyway, oh yeah, maybe I got it. Okay, maybe I got my links wrong. But we did do a webinar on the new laps and how to install it. So I've pulled over my instructions, but it needs some cleanup because it's a little ugly. But that way, for customers that want a little bit more step by step on getting laps up and going, I've kind of got more of a cheat sheet for them to look at. Pwn to passwords. I haven't looked at this project for a long time, but I still really like it. And I did a break apart of kind of how they offer their passwords list through API and how that can be queried and matched against hashes that you've found or cracked in your environment. SQL Server is another one that on pen tests, we get into an environment, we use our low privileged account to enumerate SQL services, log into them, and then can often coerce the relay of whatever account SQL is running under. So naturally coming out of that attack, customers are asking, well, how do we clean that up? And a lot of that involves removing from the public role the ability for users to fire or abuse these stored procedures. So here's kind of just a down and dirty, like, hey, here's one way you can squash at least partially those SQL relay attacks. And then this one may go away. This was something I was a fan of a long time ago. It was Microsoft Waffles. It really hasn't been touched in a long time, but it was something that this Jessica Payne from Microsoft had put out to, for free, build a log aggregator and threat hunting console. But I think there are other projects that might be a better fit now. I think Logging Made Easy is one that accomplishes some of the same things, but just for historical purposes, I wanted to just to keep some of that effort, because I wrote that article about 7 years ago, and I don't think this has changed much. So the information may be old, but it still should be relevant. Okay, and then in command line kung fu, this is broken down by Linux, Mac, and Windows, and these are just little commands for working with the file system or within the GUI that I can never remember. For example, with find, I can never remember the right find command to run in Linux to look for a file on the hard drive. And also don't show me, like, if you've ever run like just this part, you might get a bajillion T lines saying, oh, you don't have permission to read this folder and that folder and your mom's folder and brrr. So with a little bit of a modification, you can quickly find a file called file name in this case, while also ignoring all those errors about files that you can't see. And some of these may be like real specific things that I've come across needing on a pen test. I'm just going to funnel them all here because they'll be useful to me in the future. Maybe they'll be useful to you in the future. But I had a need to find the most recently modified files in a directory and display their timestamps in a human readable format. So things like ChatGPT are really my friend here, but ChatGPT has helped me with so many gems. Now I have a place to plop them all. So hopefully they help you or somebody else. And then even things like like tar. I can never remember XZFV. I can never remember what it is. I usually just type tar and then 14 letters and then the name of the GZ file in hopes that I get it right. So I had to put here that I'm so glad this is documented, and I'm sorry for yelling. Tmux is something that I'm new to, even though it's been around forever. I love using it on all my pen tests now. But one thing I can never remember off the top of my head is how to copy and paste large blocks of text. And so this I've already gone to about 4 times today. to reference. And so on and so forth. Some commands here for Mac, and for Windows. I'll start putting in, for example, this was a little snippet that I needed in a pen test where we had a old Active Directory dump for a huge environment, and it was an old backup, and I wanted to find out, do any of the passwords captured at that time, are any of them still working today? So I used this script to dump out all the high privilege groups, show me when they last reset their passwords, so I could go, oh yeah, Bob's DA account is still active today because he hasn't changed it for 2 years. So it's going to be some real specific edge stuff, but again, I know somebody at some point will be like, oh, I saw this, I saw this, and I know how to run it now. Yeah, robocopy, ping, so on and so forth. Hardware how-tos. This I'm not very far on yet, but on our podcast and on some of the live streams, we've done a ton of talking about building pen test drop boxes and scripts to automate those sorts of things. So, there's a 9-part series here on building pen test drop boxes. Inside of the show notes for a lot of those are, um, little juicy script bits. It's going to be a larger project for me to move that over, but that's definitely going to take up much of this section. And of course, I've got that tagged as review as a reminder to myself. The bulk of what you'll see here that I've spent time building out is the pen testing area. So I kind of carved it up into external, hardware how-tos, internal, and Wi-Fi. So the way my brain kind of works is like, oh, I need to do some, whatever, subdomain enumeration, or I need to look for potentially compromised credentials. I'm going to go over to run dehashed for that. So, I'll hit dehashed and then talk about the repo that I like to use to interact with the API to find potentially compromised credentials. And then cat through the cracked credentials and massage them into a format that makes them easy to spray against Azure or 365 or whatever we're calling it these days. And I try to cross-link to things whenever it's appropriate. So, if you do find some good cracked creds from dehashed, well, then pop over to Go 365 if you want, and spray those and see if you get any hits. Nmap, of course, can be used internally and externally. To make things simple to me, I put all my Nmap tips under the internal pen testing area. So if you click that, you'll go to the internal Nmap document and can read all the good stuff there. Hardware how-tos. This is something that I wrestled with a lot a couple weeks ago when I was trying to get I had a Proxmox box and then a USB Wi-Fi adapter plugged into it, and was trying to do some Wi-Fi pen testing and having all sorts of problems. And this is likely to go under a facelift in the next month or so, because I did a lot of wrestling with what really I think turned out to be older hardware with driver compatibility problems, and my life would be a lot easier to just get a new adapter, which maybe I have. No, it's not here, but it's somewhere in the office. I talked to some colleagues and they're like, yeah, you've been making your life kind of difficult by using Wi-Fi adapters that don't have native compatibility with Linux. And so I kind of started writing up this cheat sheet and then was just like, you know what? I'm going to probably just get a different card and I'll write up tips about that. So, but anyway, that was the intent behind this area. And I did in my hunt for a better, more compatible with more stuff pursuit. I did find a couple of really nice maintained lists of USB Wi-Fi cards that work well with Linux and Proxmox and ESXi. And also, I think it's this one that the author actually has. Let's see, is it this one? Maybe it's not this one. One of these, they have people write in and review them and say like, yep, it's compatible with this, that, and the other. And I found that helpful. So I stuck it there. And then on the internal side, this is kind of my world. This is where I do the most work. So all the kind of cheat sheets for pen test tools that I use, all the syntax for those are here, right? So man in the middle 6, you want to do just a general poisoning. Here's kind of your bread and butter there. What's another common one? NTLM Relay X for working in conjunction with man in the middle 6. And I've found in several pen tests of recent where I'm other good security controls are in place, but the environment uses laps and I'm in a position to relay a high privileged account. I've gotten some nice wins by relaying a DA account, and then it gets covered up here a little bit. Oh, actually, I think I can do this. There we go. Using the dump laps flag. That's been a great way to get some high privilege creds on the quick. So yeah, working with Rubius. One kind of new one that I just came upon recently that I wanted to highlight since we're here. Sometimes it may be that you get base 64 encoded, blobs or Kerberos tickets that you want to use with different tool set depending on if you need them in Kirby or C cache format. And so this tool is really nice because you run it once against the raw base 64 blob that you get, and then it'll spit it out in both formats. So just a little time saver thing to not have to convert it with 2 different tools, or convert it once on a Linux system and convert it a second time on a Windows system. So I really like that one. So I wanted to mention that one. And then a little note here about Web Client Service Scanner. This is one that, boy, especially in environments that have done a lot of the basic things right. One of the first things I'm doing is checking to see if any of these systems are running web client service, because if they are, you can often coerce authentication out of them and at least get local admin to take over the workstation. So this web client service scanner tool is awesome. But I've got a little script here in the script section that will take a list of IPs that you have, and then try that web client service scanner individually against each IP, and then create you a nice list of just all the ones that are running web client service. So the reason that's helpful is that, out of the box, unless I've made more work for myself, and this tool can take in a list of IPs, but I don't think it can. Sometimes you might have a huge environment with a bajillion T subnets that are barely populated. So you're looking at maybe a handful of live hosts per subnet. Well, if you run something like Power Hunt shares, one of the outputs you'll get is a CSV file with all the subnets that it touched in enumerating all the SMB shares. And you'll actually get, let's see, from that, you'll also get just a list of systems. So a list of systems by their machine name. So that's where my script comes in handy. Because let's see, where is it? Scripts, web client service. There it is. Because then you can just feed it. Where is it? Here we go. And show me the path with input containing host names. And then just one by one, it'll run the web client check against that, and then give you an output text file showing you here's everywhere where web client service is live. So it's less noisy, it's more surgical, and then it's just clean list of hosts, and off you go. Okay, so that was pen testing. Yeah, internal. And then I've got a little bit of Wi-Fi stuff on here. This page I really like. This is pulled over from some of our past podcasts, but I really like when it's an assessment that's a bit more general, like capture our pre-shared key and then try to crack it. I know you can do that with AirMon and AirCrack and all that, but I just find BetterCap. I don't have any technical defense to back up what I'm going to say, but I think it just seems to do it quicker as far as getting you a handshake file that's actually complete and you can start cracking against. So this kind of walks through all the stuff from getting your Linux system to recognize the wireless card and put it in monitor mode. And then kind of by default, when you turn on BetterCap, it can be really noisy. Like it'll show an entry in the log for kind of everything happening in the airspace. Like this client joined this access point. This one disconnected from an access point. Here's a new SSID that I just found, blah, 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 blah. So some of the first commands I put in here are just filtering out lots of noise, and it gets quieter and quieter to the point where then when you say show me only networks that start with, for example, 7ms, your whole log console window should just be very quiet. You should see only the networks that start with the word that you care about. And then you can be more focused and be like, okay, cool. I'm going to set my recon to the right channel. And now, for example, I'll do the deauth attack to try to capture handshakes. So that one, hopefully you'll find handy. And then, yeah, last couple areas, scripts. This is going to have a lot more to come, but that web client service one I already showed you. And then this one is gone for picture day. But I did find a nice script to use in conjunction with like a proxy or a VPN to be able to do Google dorking without getting caught by or squashed by Google for searching too aggressively. So sorry, these areas are a little bit light, but they're tagged with review so that I remember to come back to them. And then the final area, which I don't really love the title for, but it does make sense to me, is little cheat sheets for bringing up Dockerized things and miscellaneous software. So, for example, Docusaurus, which this site runs on, I put together a very quick getting started guide that has the key points of what I learned about building a Docusaurus server and then pushing to get pages. That was a little bit confusing to me, but this little blob here really helped me get it going. Really, the key pieces where you have to set up a GitHub token that you set as a variable from the command line to sort of stage the repo to get ready to receive files and receive updates. And then now that I finally got that going and I've got the domain pointed where it needs to be, it's very simple now to just make whatever updates I want to the pages and the structure. Excuse me. And then just run this little batch file, and then you get all the new changes. So, yeah, I just love it. I think it'll be simple to operate now going forward. It should be mostly set and forget, but it was a lot of set until today. Proxmox I've mentioned too that I'm really getting a lot more into because we've had to rebuild our both our NUCs that we send out to customers and our data center now all runs on Proxmox. So I've been getting more familiar with how to image systems there, and I really like the very powerful QM command that you can issue right at the SSH console for your Proxmox box. So if you want to, list out machines, if you want to power them up, power them down, you can even, this I think is awesome. You can run commands against a VM just from the SSH console. So this is kind of a dumb, benign example, but you could say, on machine with ID 123, pop up a command window and do a directory of the administrator desktop, and it'll, show you what those contents were. But from like a automation deployment standpoint, this is really powerful, right? Because you could say, hey, run this script, pull down this script from the LAN or from some website and run it. If you're, doing things for lab purposes. So that's kind of everything I know currently about Proxmox. Oh, and then Bloodhound Community. That's, if you've not used that, that's well, it's been around for a while, but that's the if you're going to run Bloodhound and look through data that you've collected from Sharphound on a pen test, should be using Community Edition, and you can get it stood up really just with like a one-liner, but I always forget what it is, and so now I won't forget that. Hopefully. All right. I think that's it. Let me know, if you have any questions, but have a look around bpatty.rocks. I was going to say you can now, if you see some things, Poopy. I think I need to fix this. I was going to say you can go in and raise an issue. I need to put a better link somewhere right in front here, or down here, right? For like make a change or submit a suggestion. I think I've got the privacy of the repo. I think it's private so that while I was just knuckleheading around in there, nobody would stumble across it. But I've got to just make a note to open that back up so that should you want to submit any changes or suggestions, I would welcome you to do so. All right. I think that's it. I appreciate you checking out the stream. Yeah. 7minsec.com is where there's, that's our professional services stuff. So if you're in the market or in the need for a pen test, assessment, training, those kind of things, we'd love to talk to you. And of course, if you head under just the blog link, you'll see all of our podcast episodes and can listen to the audio or, subscribe. And all right, I think that's it. Well, God bless you. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you on the next third Thursday live stream. All right. Take care. You've been watching or listening to 7 Minute Security, a weekly podcast focused on pen testing, blue teaming, and building a career in security. For more episodes like this, visit 7ms.us. And for information about our consulting services, visit 7minsec.com.